My name's Lou Covelli. I was a Marine. In 1963 I joined, and I went to Vietnam in 1965 and 1966. And being one of the first Marines in Vietnam, we went there by ship. Later on, Marines went there by air. We came home by air, but it took us 30 days total to get to Vietnam. Well, ever since I was a child, I was raised to believe in God, country, and family. And we caught the tail end of the Korean War, being a young boy, and we were very proud of the people that served in the military. So that was kind of a goal for myself and my brother. So when we became of age, I was 17. I graduated high school on June 24th of 1963, and I went to Marines July 11th of 1963. When I enlisted, we went to San Diego Marine Corps Recruit Depot, and I was all excited. This is what I wanted until I got there. And then once you got behind the confines of Marine Corps Recruit Depot, everything changed. The drill instructors were pretty hard on us. And we served, there was 12 weeks we served in boot camp, which was very vigorous. A lot of physical exercise, a lot of mental tear down and build up. The Marine Corps has a tendency to tear you down. The Marine Corps has a tendency to tear you down and then build you up. And then we went 4 weeks after our 12 weeks to advanced infantry training. And that's where there's a lot of simulation of being in the field and being in combat situations. So it was a total of 16 weeks. I joined the service to answer my country's call, wherever it was. I always believed that serving your country in a foreign land is better than fighting on your own land. So, was I a little nervous? Yes. But I wanted to go, and I had expectations of which were found to be a little different once you got there. It's not like the movies. Once you get into a combat situation, you're not fighting. I was there 13 months. We didn't fight every day for 13 months. But you had your periods where you were on the front lines, and you did face combat situations. I'd say probably at least half the time you were in combat situations and firefights and offensive maneuvers. Being a tanker, there was many times they used us as infantry because sometimes our tanks were immobile, especially during what they call the monsoon season, where it rains for 3 months every day and usually 3/4 of the day. So our tanks were immobile. We couldn't move in that kind of terrain. So they took us and they put us on the front lines as infantry. We went on patrols, we went on seek and destroy missions, we went on recon missions, and that's where a lot of the touch and go situations were. When you're in a tank and you're firing a tank, I mean, you're not face to face with your enemy, but the infantry is, usually. Being in the Marine Corps or any branch of the service, you form a brotherhood. And whether there's females or males, it's called a brotherhood. And it's relying on the person next to you. It's knowing that they're trained like you are, and they're there to cover you, and you're there to cover them during trying times. And you know that they're willing to stand for you and to fight next to you and even take a bullet for you if need be. And that brotherhood, I never rekindled that brotherhood until I got on the fire department. And it's the same way there. Any fireman or policeman can tell you that it's all their success is the success of the group. It's not the success of one person. It's being able to depend on everybody as a team. And that's what the military is, it's a team. I dedicated my life to service people. I serviced my country. I was proud of it. There's nothing prouder, in my opinion, for me anyway, to be a serviceman, to be a Marine, and to be a firefighter. And there's no greater reward than to bring somebody back to life, or to save their home, or save them as far as keeping them out of harm's way. My father tried to encourage me to be a fireman, but I didn't become a fireman until I was ready. My father was a Chicago fireman for 32 years, and I had great respect for my father. In essence, I feel I was in the greatest branch of the service that there was, and I feel that my occupation as being a firefighter was the greatest profession I could ask for. When I came home from Vietnam, I'll put it in this fashion. I was a young old man. When I teamed up with but my buddies I went to high school with, they hadn't gone into service, most of them. So basically I outgrew them. Their thoughts and ideas of doing things were a lot different than mine. And it was a change. It was a change, and when I came home from Vietnam, I spent 13 months there. When we first landed, and understand the fact that we were in Vietnam, we didn't know anything that was going on in the United States. And apparently at the time when I was in Vietnam, there was a lot of demonstrations and anti-war protests. So when we came home, we landed at El Toro Marine Corps Air Base, and we had to go through what they call customs. And after customs, this officer got on a platform, and he told us, he says, when you go to the airports to go home or to the train stations, expect to be harassed. And I didn't understand that. I was shocked. I didn't know what he meant. But when I did go to the airport, there was people walking, young people walking by, snickering, making comments, calling us baby killers, and spitting on the floor. I was shocked. I was discouraged. I didn't expect that, because like I said, when I was a youth, we always looked up to the military and we respected the military. I felt, I just didn't, I wasn't proud anymore. I was proud of what I served, but I wasn't proud of the way the military was being treated. When I was first approached about going on the honor flight, I didn't want to go. And I told the individual, Len Serwinski, that I wasn't interested, because I felt that I was dishonored when I came home, that Vietnam veterans, not me personally, but Vietnam veterans were dishonored coming home and that this was all a facade. That going on the honor flight and now recognizing us for our military service was phony. But Len convinced me to go, and I went. One of the best days of my life. We met what they call a guardian, and this person stays with you the whole time. And I had talked to my guardian, who happened to be a female, and I was telling her basically my feelings about not wanting to go on the flight and how I felt. And in the course of the day, she looked at me and she says, "You need to understand one thing. That was then, and this is now. In other words, we're honoring you now. What happened in the past happened in the past. And I will carry that to my grave. I'm proud of what we achieved in the military and the outfit I was with. Having a Purple Heart, I got a piece of shrapnel that grazed my arm. I got a burn out of it. I still got a little scar. All these disabled veterans, and I'm talking about guys that came back from Vietnam that are having problems today with Agent Orange. They're having health conditions, heart conditions. They're having diabetes and such diseases as that caused by Agent Orange. They deserve a Purple Heart too, because they might have left the country and the war, but the country never left them, and the war never left them. I have grandkids that are in college, and I try to tell them, be yourself. Don't be afraid to tell people what you feel. Don't be afraid to express yourself. Set your goals, and don't let anybody stop you when it comes for them goals. You set them, you go for them. Life is too short not to tell people what you feel. If you feel like you want to tell your mom, your dad, that you love them, and you feel that way, do it. Because tomorrow you might not be able to. Because when you're in a combat zone, like when I was in Vietnam, when I first got there, I was very much afraid. I mean, every little sound at night, you'd be alert. But as time went on, you became complacent. You became used to what your surroundings were. And you wouldn't have a helmet on. You take your flak jacket off. And because honestly and truly, when I was in Vietnam, I never felt I would come home. Because when you're in an area like that, in a situation like that, you live from day to day, and you survive from day to day. And home is like a dream. Home is a place that once was, but you never and truly believe that you're going back. And it doesn't become a reality until your officer comes up to you and says, you're rotating back in a week. You're going back to the United States. You're going back home. And one of the greatest moments, and that's when the fear comes back. When you still have a week in Vietnam or in a combat zone, and they've already told you you're going home, now it becomes realistic. There is a home. And one of the greatest feelings I ever had in my life, when we got on the planes in Okinawa, we went from Vietnam to Okinawa for a couple days, and we had to have shots and everything before we came back to the United States. When we boarded planes in Okinawa, they were civilian planes. I think ours was a TWA. I'm not positive. I don't remember. But there were some stewardesses on there, and we were still in our combat fatigues, or utilities, what we call them. So when I got on the plane, I closed my eyes because I didn't want to think about anything. I just wanted to close my eyes. And I remember the stewardess coming over the microphone, and she says, if you look outside the windows, it was night, you will see the coast of California. When I looked outside and I was home. I was home. And that was one of the greatest feelings of my life. Seeing America. And I never left America. I've stayed here. This is where when people ask, what's your nationality? I'm an American.